ultimately you can get to a point where you actually look at the Liver King and you say, hey, I'm so grateful that guy did exactly what he did, because it helped me come back to myself, take ownership for things in my life. And because of that, I've gotten real with myself. I've had a new experience of growth. I've had a new up leveling. And you look at the guy and you say, thank you. Welcome to today's video, my friends. Nash Mackey here, rapid breakthrough and personal performance coach to high performers all around the world. And we've got a very, very interesting topic we're going to delve into today. Now, I wanted to talk about this simply because I think that there's so much that we can discover about ourselves just by observing something that's happening in the world right now. And this is obviously a topic that in the scheme of things is just, almost pointless. It's kind of hilarious to think about how much emphasis people are putting on this and how upset people are getting and the amount of attention that this is getting. And so I wanted to put a spin on it. I actually wanted to use what has come out, and what's come out is the Liver King. For anyone who knows him, he's a fitness influencer, and he had massive growth in a very, very short amount of time. And essentially he's been going around living these ancestral tenets, talking about the ancestral way, and created a whole brand around the ancestral way of living. He got a lot of traction. He started getting featured on some huge podcasts, some of the biggest podcasts out there. And it was all great. Things were going well. People were inspired by the guy. He was influencing a lot of people in a really meaningful way, but often he got questioned, was he taking steroids or other performance enhancing drugs? And he denied that. And long story short, it's come out that he is in fact taking this, and he's actually just done a video on his YouTube admitting that he's done this. Now, again, this is all just stuff in the scheme of things. I'll be the first to say, having worked in hospitals and seen such real life situations, having had, a child of our own who's navigated huge health challenges, I look at something like this and I just laugh. It's kind of hilarious. But again, there's something we can learn from it. So I wanted to take something that's on people's minds and actually look at it in a way that we can actually take a bit of ownership and actually have growth from this situation ourselves. So with that in mind, let's delve into this. So I always come from the idea that everything is two sides. You cannot get a one-sided coin. You cannot get a one-sided magnet. Everything is two sides. That's the foundation of everything I believe. So even this situation, people are like, it's bad, it's this, it's that, it's the other thing. Well, if it's one side of the coin, then it has to be the other side. And we suffer when we are looking at any event in life and we're saying it's all bad or it's all good. If you say something's all bad, then you're gonna suffer. You're gonna get lessons because of that perspective. Your attention's on something negative, and you're gonna see a lot of that, and you're gonna feel a certain way as a consequence of that. If you're saying something's all good, then inevitably it's going to eventually start to have cracks appear, just like the Liver King has done. A lot of people had the Liver King up on this pedestal saying, this guy is all that. He's this, he's that, is the other thing, he's inspiring, and they put him up so high. And what I learned from Dr. John Demartini, he's one of the leading human behavior specialists in the world, is anyone we put up on a pedestal, we have to put ourselves in the pit if we're putting someone on a pedestal. And what eventually happens is if we take that person off a pedestal and put them in the pit, we end up on the pedestal and we're constantly looking at ourselves saying we're better than them now and we're judging them, we're putting them down, versus saying they're a human being, I'm a human being. There's things about them that are, I guarantee, even if I can't see them, are not perfect. And the same is true about me. So to break this down really simply, anything we're judging in other people is actually something we judge within ourselves. So for anyone who's looking at this scenario, judging it, saying he shouldn't have done this, he should have done that, ultimately it was meant to happen this way. And we know it was meant to happen this way because it did. And like any event in life, what happens is meant to serve our growth. It's meant to serve our up-leveling and our own evolution. So right now, there's a massive amount of people who are having this experience of, oh my goodness, he betrayed us, he told a lie. And I get that. I'm not saying that it was great that he told a lie at all. But the truth always shines through. That's the way it is. And right now, a lot of people are experiencing this where they used to put him up here, but now they're putting him down here. And what you'll find is if you look a little deeper, it's not actually the Liver King who's doing this. I believe that this is life inviting millions, tens of millions of people to actually have a huge up-leveling. And Liver King is the vehicle for them to do that. He's the stepping stone for them to do that, rather. So how does this work? Whatever you look at in someone else, if you put them up on a pedestal, then you're actually saying, I don't have that in me and I put them up there. So I think they're all so good and they've got all this stuff, and you're diminishing yourself. If it works the other way, you're usually putting yourself up, saying, I'm so good and they're not. Oh, he told a lie. I ask you this question. Have you ever told a lie in your life? Have you ever slipped up in your life? Have you ever fallen short in your life? Now, again, I'm not condoning what he's done, because he preaches about integrity and he's not actually living it. If you go and listen to his video on YouTube where he's talking about his actions and he's being remorseful, some people are saying it's scripted, he shouldn't do this. Like, he's talking about all these things that, he's talking about, he does it for young kids to inspire kids who are suicidal and all this stuff. And they're like, his intentions aren't pure. Like he's using suicide and all these numbers to get more publicity. Well, do we actually know that to be true? Do we actually know that to be true? Because if you listen to a lot of his podcasts, like, he does seem to have a fairly caring nature. He does seem to be a fairly caring guy. And regardless of what he's doing, what are you doing? Take it back to yourself. This is an opportunity for ownership. This is an opportunity to look at what he is doing. He's set up a big mirror, essentially. He's put a big mirror in place for individuals to look at themselves and be like, oh, wow, he's told a huge lie. And right now, if you judge him for that, it's because you're judging yourself for having done the same thing. Anyone, and this is what I can say with confidence, because I see this every single day. Anyone who's truly done the deep work on themselves, who's done healing work, who's done work to actually work on their character on the deepest level, work on their wounds, and move through the past hurt and all these other things that humans can accumulate that really suffocate them in life. Anyone who's done the work, they end up at a place of compassion and love. And they move out of this judgment. You can tell if someone has got wounds, it's because they're constantly snapping, they're doing these little remarks, putting that person down, even jokingly. That's clear sign that there's more work to be done. There's some wound that you're covering up. And often it's easier to project on other people, saying, well, they shouldn't do that. How dare they do that? We got to take it back. And if that's your experience right now, this is probably not the most popular video on Liver King, but this is probably one of the most real, and actually one of the videos that will allow you to have a huge amount of growth if you take what I'm saying and apply it. Whatever you're judging in him, and it's not just him, again, life has got so many complex situations that come up. So there's so many people who can push our buttons at times. Take that individual, look at them, identify exactly what they're doing that you're judging or that you feel charged about. They lied, they deceived you, they cheated you in some way, whatever it is, identify it. And then look in your life, where have you done the same thing? Where have you done the same thing? Because the only reason you've got a trigger about it is because you're judging it in yourself. We don't see the world as it is, we see the world as we are. I often share with my clients or on my masterclasses, when you were born, an entire universe was born. Now that's a really, really deep idea. When you were born, an entire universe was born. And what I mean by that is you see the world in a completely different way than I do or someone else does. It's vastly different. What you focus on, what you see as you walk through a mall, what the shops you focus on would be very, very different from what I focus on. Or even if they're the same, you would notice different things. You'd see different things in different ways. We don't see the world as it is, we see the world as we are. So when you were born, an entire universe was born. And right now, if you're judging the external world, it's never the external world, it's actually something within you. This is a very, very deep idea, but it's the idea that will allow you to have the most incredible amount of growth and the most incredible amount of freedom. Because guess what? All of a sudden, you can do something about what you're judging. If you're sitting around right now looking at someone like the Liver King, we're using him as an example again because it's fresh on people's minds. If you're using him as a reason to sit back and just become complacent and say, oh, the world's just messed up, the world's all this, the world's all that, I knew that about him, I knew that he was a fake, and you're getting in these kind of patterns again. It could be anyone, not just this guy. But if you're doing that, you're using that as an excuse, then those things take your power. And it's very, very easy to slip into victimhood if you're just sitting back thinking it's all happening out there. Versus if you take ownership and realize it's happening within you, The experience of the world is happening within you. It's a unique experience. Again, that's a deep idea, but if you can grasp that, oh my goodness, watch how it changes your life. So simply put, whatever we're judging in other people is something we're actually judging within ourselves. It's something that's unresolved within ourselves. Now, this isn't to say, again, that we need to condone what someone else is doing if it's destructive to other humans' well-being. Very, very important distinction. We're not condoning anyone else's actions if it's destructive to other humans' well-being. But what we do want to do is, if it's happened, know that there's a reason it's happened, and not let that cause us to become a more toxic, a more closed off, a more cynical human being. The things that could potentially close our hearts also have the potential to open up our hearts on a deeper level. And I think that that's what everything in life that comes into our experience is designed to do. We're not here to be punished. We're not here to be put down. We're not here to suffer. We're here to grow to the fullest expression of ourselves. Again, that's just something fundamental that exists throughout every part of nature. Everything is here to grow to its fullest potential. I say this in every single one of my videos, by the way, but it's so important to grasp. So, take what's present for you and identify what specifically about it triggers you. And if it's a judgment that you have for someone else, take ownership for it and say, all right, where in my own life am I judging myself for doing the same thing? Because I guarantee if you can see it in them, it's because you've got it within yourself. Again, when you were born, an entire universe was born, and the whole experience of life you're having is through your own filters that you've put in place. So immediately, when I heard about this guy and you know, the fact that he had been doing this, again, I wasn't a big fan of the fact that he told a lie at all. I think that that's pretty low. However, who am I to judge? Even saying that, where have I told lies? Where have I actually made things up in order to maintain my good name? Where have I not taken ownership for something that maybe wasn't ideal, maybe wasn't the best thing for other humans? It's a beautiful learning opportunity if we let it be. But if we just get caught up in the hype, putting him down, then you're going to get other lessons. You're going to get other lessons where people disappoint you, where people seem to do things that cause you to feel like your trust has been betrayed. Use the lesson now. This is an amazing opportunity. And ultimately, you can get to a point where you actually look at the Liver King and you say, hey, I'm so grateful that guy did exactly what he did, because it helped me come back to myself, take ownership for things in my life. And because of that, I've gotten real with myself. I've had a new experience of growth. I've had a new up leveling. And you look at the guy and you say, thank you. That's the ultimate place to be. And that's what's available to any one of us when we see what is present in our life on the way, not in the way. We see it as an up leveling opportunity. And I believe that's what this is. So moving forward, I'm going to still support the Liver King. I'm going to still watch his content. It's kind of hilarious. And I've often shared it with my clients. I'm like, this is pretty hilarious to watch. He's kind of inspiring as well. I'm inspired to see this guy do it from a place of greater integrity as well moving forward. And I think he does inspire a lot of people. I've certainly pushed a little bit harder in my workouts because of, you know, this guy being in my mind. And having done a lot of different training in the past, I'm blessed to say that I've never gone down the PED route at all. Thanks to being in the military at a young age, I could never touch that kind of stuff. But what I will say is that, you know, you can't look like him and not be training. So there's a lot he's doing well. And, you know, all of his ancestral tenets, I think there's a lot of wisdom to them. For those of you who don't know them, I'm just going to read them. So sleep, eat, move, shield, connect, cold, sun, fight, bond, and he adds in fun sometimes as well. They're very similar to the areas of life I support my clients with. Different wording, but quite similar. And I think there's a lot of wisdom to that. And again, if you're going to look at any individual and you're going to say, well, they did this wrong and this wrong and this wrong, it's important you look at what they did right as well. If you're even putting your parents down, you're putting yourself down, yes, there may be some things they did wrong, but what have they also done right? And does it about balance out? Because I'm sure if you look deep enough, you'll find it does. And then once you realize that, that they've done just as many things as bad things as they have good things, for many people, they won't do that exercise because they'll have nothing to judge. They'll have nothing to judge. And they don't want there to be this beautiful equilibrium. They prefer this lopsided imbalanced way of living because it gives them something to do, because the truth is they haven't committed it to something greater in their life. And if you're finding yourself being consumed by, oh, what's this celebrity doing? What's this influencer doing? And you find yourself constantly being distracted by that. Well, that's something to explore as well. Look back at your own life and actually ask yourself, what are you doing? What are you doing? If have you had the level of success Liver King has? Have you got the physique he does? Have you got the family life he does? Again, it's not perfect, but take ownership. Turn the mirror back on yourself. That's hard to do, and often we can find ourselves judging other people and getting caught up in the hype of the different situations that are happening in the world, because we're too afraid to look at ourselves and say, where are we? Where are we with our fitness? Where are we with our health? Where are we with our finances? So on and so forth. And again, it's not comparison, because that's just a slippery slope to a really miserable existence. It's about honesty and it's about ownership. And from those places you say, this is where I am, and I'm going to focus on me improving. I'm going to focus on me getting better. That's a game that you can always play, and it's a game that you can always win, so long as you're not comparing yourself to other people. You are a unique being. You are on a unique journey. Be inspired by, I think, as many people as possible. That's epic. But ultimately, commit to your own mission, your own inspiring mission that's within you, and let that guide your behavior. Don't let any influencer or any person around you be the reason why you show up every single day. And you have to go to them for constant motivation and constant pumping up. That's a really dangerous way to live, because for anyone who's doing that, say with Liver King, well, guess what? Now their motivation source is just completely dissipated, and they're sitting ducks, and they're going to feel really miserable and empty, and their dopamine's going to be all messed up because they were getting this big pump up every time they watched him put him up on a pedestal. And again, this is some real talk, but it's really important we learn to become self-empowered, where we are inspired most of all by our own progress toward our own mission. So I hope this video has helped someone in some way, and you can actually look at Liver King now as I can. I certainly am very, very grateful for who he's been and how he's showed up. Again, the integrity thing, that's something he gets to work on, or he'll keep getting big lessons like he has. Same is true for all of us. I look at him and I see him not living from the greatest amount of integrity. I ask myself, how could I live with more integrity? How is he being a mirror for me? And when we can use life like that, we really do get to experience a quality of life where we do feel like life is on our side. We don't feel like we're victims to life or anything like that. So hopefully these perspectives have helped you in some way. Let me know in the comments below if you've got something from this video. Again, not for everyone, but for anyone who has sat here, listened to this message, I acknowledge you. And I know that you have a true growth mind. And I also acknowledge you for your compassion, because ultimately that's where you get to when you see the world as a reflection of yourself. And imagine a world where we have more people coming from love, coming from compassion. Is it possible for that kind of world to exist? I believe so. And for the duration of my life, I'm going to keep working toward it. Big love.